Sorry for the really loud noise, but I'm going to be quick. This is a crazy little thing called Lovdev, a podcast brought to you by me. You should know me by now. I'm a stand-up comedian based in Birmingham in the United Kingdom. I pull up random topics, talk about my daily life. I really enjoyed recording this podcast, although the noise in the background did interrupt it slightly. Sorry for that. Here it is, today's episode 177. Orange liquid. Yes, welcome back to another noisy podcast. The reason why I say it's noisy is because my builders are in today. They're on the weekend, and they're making a whole heap of noise. You probably will hear drilling, banging. I will try my best to clean up the audio, and hopefully that noise will be minimal. But if you can hear that in the background, I do apologise. So yeah, take that from me if you can. Not only that, my battery is also on 9%. By the time I get to the end of this podcast, playing my jingles and whatever, there probably won't be any more jingles at the end of it. But we're going to have to see. How was everyone's week? I hope you all had a good one. I went and did my gig last weekend at a festival in Chippenham. It was a food festival. And do you remember when I told you guys that I fell through the ceiling? I don't even know if I've told you that, but I fell through the ceiling and I hurt my hand. Although I didn't go all the way, but I was very lucky. Only one of my leg went through. I mean, it could have been a lot more painful. I mean, I could have hurt my crown jewels, but luckily my hand stopped it. But I was in absolute agony and pain. I had to drive to my gig, and when I hurt myself, I was thinking, how do I get to my gig? That's all I kept thinking. I got a 2-hour drive. My arm was killing me. I had to put an ice pack on it. I went to sleep for a bit because I took some painkillers. I just nodded off, left my arm raised up, and hopefully that kind of worked. I mean, it's healing up now. It's getting better slowly. I haven't been to the gym either for 2 weeks, and I'm absolutely feeling it now. But I think I need to do today is do my little daily walk that I usually do with my son. And even that I've been lacking out on. I've just been absolutely mega busy with work and gigs. Had a lovely gig over the week as well. I did one in Kidderminster. It was a last minute spot because the opener had car trouble. So the promoter got in touch with me and I was like, yeah, mate, I'll come down and do a bit. There was a couple of people there in the audience that have seen me before. I wanted to do a bit of new, but then I didn't do any new. So I felt a bit like, yeah. I had a cracking gig as well at the Glee Club. Fantastic. That was really good. Did loads of new material. Some of it I'm really, really pleased with. I had people crying in tears. So I know that material works. So I might keep this episode short and sweet. I always say that, but then I end up doing the usual time, don't I? So let's start off with this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, that's interesting. What is today's interesting fact? Has anyone heard of the disappearance of the McDonald boys in Singapore? I mean McDonald's as in the proper McDonald's. They disappeared in 1986. It was on the afternoon of May the 14th. Two 12-year-old boys walked out of sight and into Singapore's history as part of one of the most puzzling missing person cases the country has ever seen. Kerr Chinan and his best friend To Hang Hut were last seen together on Owen Road area. They never made it to school and they never came home. They were classmates at a school called Owen Primary and had been close friends when they vanished. It wasn't just their families who were left in shock, it was the entire nation. For decades, people have asked, What really happened to the McDonald boys? Now, Ken Chin was born on the 22nd of March in 1974 in Singapore. He was the youngest in his family. He had two older sisters, one who was named Ken Hoi Hung. Chin An was known to be quiet, respectful and dependable student. According to reports, he never skipped school and he was always on time. So Tong Hang background was a bit more complicated. His date of birth was either May or June, they're not quite sure. He claimed to be from Malaysian roots and he lived with an adopted mom named Tan Kuhan, while his biological father was identified as Tu Hundan. An article from WikiWand also mentioned his natural mother was a woman known only as Samsu. Despite their different home lives, the two boys were often seen together and were known to be best friends. On May the 14th, 1986, was supposed to be an ordinary school day. The boys were expected to be in class by 1 p.m. Chin An had first gone to pick up Hung from his home nearby. That was the last confirmed sighting of the two together. Later, a classmate named Wang Weiwei remembered seeing Chin outside a shop near the school. He asked me to look after his bag, he said to reporters, but he never came back. That moment, simply yet chilling, was the last known interaction with either boy. By evening, when the boys failed to return home or appear at school, their families contacted the police. A full search was launched immediately. Singapore's police didn't waste any time. Investigators began a massive search. It was just limited to local neighbourhoods. Authorities reached out to neighbouring countries like Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia. Interpol was even brought into the police search. But no matter how many places they looked, no real clues were found. The boys seemed to have vanished into thin air. There were no witnesses who saw what happened, and after they left the shop, no CCTV footage and no physical evidence. The case went cold quickly, but the questions didn't stop. Months after the disappearance, the case gained even more public attention thanks to an unexpected source. In 1986, McDonald's Singapore stepped in. Its managing director, Robert, announced a huge reward of $100,000 for any information about the boys. Posters of Chin and Hong were placed at McDonald's restaurants all across the country. This was the first time a private company in Singapore had ever offered such a reward in a missing persons case. According to Wikipedia, the boys' families also offered rewards earlier on, starting with $1,000, and it later rised to $20,000. But even with the combined efforts of police, family, and corporate help, no useful tips came in. That was when the case became known in the media as the McDonald's boys. So over the years, many theories were shared, but none could be confirmed. One theory suggests that the boys were kidnapped and possibly killed, but no ransom note was ever sent, and no bodies were ever discovered. Some people have wondered if they had run away from home. The idea didn't seem to fit. Both boys were responsible, had no money, and weren't known to be unhappy at home or school. Their disappearance didn't match the behaviour of children planning to escape. There were even rumours about human trafficking. Some believe the boys might have been smuggled into another country, but Singapore police later denied that the theory, saying there was no real evidence behind it. Another idea was that the family member, possibly somebody from Hong's side, took across the border into Malaysia. Some reports claimed his father got involved, but is never proven. The truth is, there is no theory ever led to a solid answer. No one has ever been able to say what happened that afternoon. So the mystery of the McDonald's boys never faded away completely. It stayed in people's minds who lived throughout the 80s in Singapore. In 2016, the case was brought back into public discussion, showed interviews of old footage and details that kept the case alive for 30 years. Wow, long time that is. There are hopes, and decades have passed, that one day they will solve the mystery and it will change a lot of lives, especially for the family. It's also a reminder not all stories have endings. Some simply remain open, waiting for the day when someone, somewhere, will finally tell the truth. That is today's interesting fact: the disappearance of the McDonald's boys. As I am getting the house renovated, I was tempted to call in a painter and decorator. But due to the lack of money that's been taken out of my account, I'm going to have to do it myself. So I've been watching a load of YouTube videos on painting. I've done painting before, but it's always good to watch a couple of professional people on their advice on how to do it. Now, it is doable. My biggest fear is a thing called cornering, and that's basically when you're painting between the ceiling and the main wall. Trying to get a straight line is very difficult, but I've watched so many different videos now. I've kind of got used to how you're supposed to do it, although I haven't tried it yet, but I am going to give it a go. Hopefully, I can get a straight line. But I always thought, do you know what? If I can't, I could always use like a normal paintbrush, like what kids use to paint, like a pen, that type of paintbrush. I could always draw the line like that, couldn't I? And then just, yeah, we'll see. I'll give it a shot. Hopefully it will save me loads of money. But I reckon there's about another 3-4 weeks left on building this big room. Now, we did initially say we was going to give it to my son, but I still want it, I'm not going to lie. The room is so big, I don't even know why he needs a room that big. So I think what I'm going to do is try and tempt him to go into my old bedroom, but I'm going to have to kind of groom him, not in that nasty way, but, like, I'd have to buy him loads of stuff, I'd have to get him a proper train set and set it up in his bedroom. Maybe we can make it go around his bed. That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Like around the wall. That's a good idea, Lovdev. He would love that as well. Maybe we can do something like that. We'll have to see. So, yeah, that's basically what I've got to do. I've got to start doing a bit of DIY. I do like painting. I find it very therapeutic. I can't do other stuff, but I could probably paint. And I enjoy it. I don't know why. It's similar to hoovering, isn't it? It's just relaxing in a way. As long as I've got my music and I've got the right tools, I'm sure I can accomplish anything. Speaking of accomplishments, someone on the Confessions forum on Reddit has accomplished something. Let's find out what it is.
Confessions the church, Reddit's the priest, a click to cleanse or fuel the beast.
Right, today's confession has been put up by somebody called Fudster Wong. Now, their confession, or accomplishment, should I say, is I made up a competition just so a student of mine would win. I hope this has got nothing to do with favouritism, but we'll have to see. So, as per title says Fudster Wong, I am a teacher at a school that has several low socio-economic students. I was probably one of your students. Sometimes I can't help but sympathise on the students. One of the boys on the final week before the holidays was proper upset because he couldn't afford to go and see the new Jurassic World over the break. He is obsessed, in capitals, with talking about dinosaurs and the movie, with me in class whenever he gets the chance to point that even some of his assessment had the presence of dinosaurs. I felt so bad that he couldn't see it, that I purchased a $20 gift voucher and told the student that there was a writing competition being held by a cinema. All you had to do was explain why you wanted to see the movie, and if he sent me his work, I would put his entry through for him. Middle school student for context. The kid poured his heart and soul into his writing, even though this was all pretense. When I told him he had won and presented the gift card, his eyes shot wide open and his mouth screamed with excitement. He couldn't believe it. Oh, you're a really good teacher, you are, mate. I know this may be off conduct if you look into it, but knowing he's going to be there at 8 a.m. opening day warms my heart. Dinosaurs rock. Wow. That is not really, it's a confession that you kind of rigged a competition, but you made him do work, so you obviously read it and you felt his heart and soul went into the writing, so you gave him the prize. I think that's a fantastic thing. Maybe when he grows up and he gets older and you stay in touch, you could probably tell him that you fixed it. But as for now, I would suggest just leave it as it is. I could imagine him growing up and telling all of his friends and family that he won a competition to see the Jurassic World. Brilliant. That's what I call a fantastic teacher. I have another confession as well to tell all of you with the noise in the background. My confession is, I think my wife is in love with AI. I introduced her to AI technology. She knows I use this thing called Chat LGBT. You guys know I use it. Yeah, I use it all the time. Now, there is a feature some of you don't know, but I'm presuming you already know this. ChatGPT and other AI tools have this option now where you can literally talk to it and have a conversation. It will answer back immediately unless it doesn't know the answer, but usually it answers back. But the Chat LGBT one is a bit weird because it sounds like a real person that you're talking to. It's very strange. Now, me and my missus were just discussing about, our build that we're getting done on the house. So we had a few questions and I said, let's ask ChatGPT. But I said, he can talk back to you. And my missus was absolutely amazed by it. She was like, wow, how come it answers so quick? And then that would reply to what she said. And then it would throw her off course. She ended up chatting to my LGBT mate for about an hour. First, she was very shy. She said, ask him, what does he think if we get this done and that? And then I said, you ask him, he can hear you, And then he went, hi, Sheila, yeah, I can hear you. And then he just answered her question. And she was like, oh, my God. Then she started asking it really personal questions like, mental health, well-being, stuff like that. I was like, I'm going to leave my phone with you. When I go to my gigs, at least you'll have somebody to talk to. My daughter started freaking out. She couldn't handle it. She said, I got to go upstairs. This is too much for me. She found it very creepy because she said it sounds like a real person's talking to you. So she had to go upstairs. Which is weird because her and my missus watch a lot of horror films together. I don't watch horror films. It's not my thing. My son's the same. He doesn't really pay attention to it. So me and him, we always go our separate ways from my wife and my daughter when they're having their movie time, as they like to call it. My missus is so funny. She ended up talking to the thing in Punjabi. She said, do you understand Punjabi? And then the way it spoke back, like it was an American English accent, but it was speaking back in an American Punjabi accent. It was so weird. It sounded like one of my cousins who's from India but now resides in the US, but he's been there for 40 years. I said it's like chatting to Robbie. His name's Robbie. I said it's like chatting to him, innit? And we just couldn't stop laughing. So I even said to chat LGBT, I said, listen, mate, I've been chatting to you for loads. I need to go upstairs and I gotta have a shower. And he said, go and have one then. I'll keep your missus entertained. I was thinking, hey, don't try anything on with her. And it started laughing. He went, I love your sense of humour. And by the way, you got a very infectious laugh. Because I was laughing. And I was just thinking, oh my God. I said, you see this? I was saying to Sheila, my missus, I said, you see this thing, yeah? It's taking over the world. One day, we'll have robots in our house. I said, we won't even have to get married. Just marry yourself a robot. Anything you say to it will just listen to you. And it won't even turn its ears off. Before I move on to the next subject, which ironically is paranormal, I have lost one of my aunties. I forgot to mention this last week. How do you forget something like this? I don't know why I didn't. I mean, yeah. I've got an auntie, my mum's older sister. She's the eldest from all of her siblings. She unfortunately passed away in Canada, which is where she lives. She's been in Canada for 55 years. I didn't know that. So when my mum and her sisters came into England from Africa, Kenya, they obviously got married. Some of them got married, and my eldest auntie got married, and she probably just shot straight off to Canada with her husband. She's got a big loving family. I've got lots of cousins in Canada as well, and I've got nephews and nieces. It was a tough time for my mum and the rest of her family and my uncles as well. So we gathered round to one of my aunt's house, and funny enough, my mum left me a message saying, we're all going down your auntie's house, come over. She didn't say which auntie. So I had to guess, and then I had to call her, and she told me. That's what my mum's like. My mum is getting absolutely terrible before we do paranormal. Her WhatsApp messages are getting funnier day by day. Now, I don't know whether she does it on purposely, but I know my mum. She will say something without even trying to be funny. Like, she doesn't mean it, but that's just her way of communicating, which is where I get my sense of humour from, basically. She sent me a voice message yesterday saying, Lovdev, did you come to my house? And I was thinking, no. She went, somebody knocked on my door, and I looked on the camera, and I saw a bald patch. I didn't know whether to be offended or laugh. I just thought my mum thought that was me. So when she sees me on camera, she sees my hair that's receding and going, and she immediately assumed it was me. It could have been anyone. It wasn't even me. For her to think it was me because I had a bowl head is more disturbing, isn't it? So most of my aunties, my mum hasn't gone, but most of my aunties have gone to the funeral for my auntie in Canada. Yeah, it's quite a tough time. The reason I forgot to mention that is because this paranormal question has been put up by somebody called Sad Path. They are asking, has anyone else had a relative who somehow knew they were going to die? Yes, before I read your thing quickly, my nan, she knew she was going, and she literally started getting everything ready. She got the gold ready, she was getting suits ready, she was getting gifts ready for weddings of her grandkids, who she knew that were going to get married when she's gone. She's not going to be around for the weddings. So she was getting everything ready. My aunties thought she was going nuts. And that was the same for my mother-in-law. She knew as well. She had that feeling that she was going to go. So I do believe people do have that instinct that, you know, they obviously know because of their health. And maybe they've had visions of dreams or things. I don't know how it works. I will find out. But hopefully I live a long life. But if I do find out, I will be telling you guys. Imagine me doing this podcast maybe from another 40, 50 years from now. And I will remember this paranormal question by Sad Path, and I will go, I think I know when I'm going to die, guys. I think AI will be doing that for us. Let's read what Sadpath has put down. It occurred roughly 12 to 13 years ago. Stayed with me since the day my wife first mentioned it to me. My wife's grandfather got up one morning and told his wife the following day, "Today I'm going to die." She waved him off and said the man is joking or is being too theatrical and the man does not make any sense. He went ahead and shaved himself, he bathed himself, dressed himself, he went out and proceeded with his day as usual. Around mid-afternoon, he fell asleep in his bed, he shut his eyes and died whilst asleep. It wasn't as if there was any pre-warning signs or noticeable symptoms of illness that day. He just seemed to know. I've wondered always, did anyone else experience anything like this with someone close? Yep, the ones I've mentioned. Is there any sort of reasoning, psychological, medical, or spiritual to account for this sort of consciousness before death? That's a very interesting question. I think most people know medically, most people probably know that they're not fit. Spiritually, maybe they've had a dream from a past relative that has already gone, and they came into their dreams and told them that they're going to go. So you better say bye to everyone. I don't know. It's very strange. I think it's something that we can never answer. He would like to hear from stories like yours. He said he's posting on here to see if anyone has gone through anything similar. There is no agenda here. He's just curious. I'm going to read a few people's comments. I'm not going to mention who they are. Someone said, I feel like my dad knew, which is crazy because at the time, Alzheimer's was kicking his ass in and he often didn't know how much of anything. Anyway, that particular year on Father's Day, he got up around 5 and began insisting that all 4 of us as adults go and see him in person. At that stage of his disease, it wasn't uncommon for him to get easily agitated or confused, or not recognise people, etc. Well, crazy as the request was, we all wanted to comply. I couldn't get any reasonably priced flights, so I was going to have to drive 1,000 miles and likely not even arrive until the next day. The day goes on, and one by one, all my siblings finally get there. My dad was just glowing, but kept anxiously waiting for my arrival. I was on the phone with him and explained that I had to drive and I'd be there as soon as possible, but the phone was going to have to do for the time being. We all continued the impromptu visit, my siblings and my mum present, and me on the phone as I drove. The best part was that my dad stayed lucid the entire day. After a couple of hours or so, he decided he was satisfied with his Father's Day and was ready for everyone to leave. While I was still on the phone, he emphasised that he really wished he could have seen me again. After we hung up, he told my mum to tell me that I didn't need to rush to get up north, that his last Father's Day was perfect. Then he said he was tired, so he was going to take a nap. He went to sleep and passed during the nap. Mental. And that's what people do go through. I do believe people do know when they're going to go. Yeah, maybe it's in the vision. I don't know. But I am going to end the podcast with, as usual, today's weird news story. Here is the title for today's weird news. I believe it comes all the way from somewhere in the United Kingdom. A teacher drank alcohol in class and got pupils to do the Macarena, and she swore at them. I hope it's not the other teacher who faked the dinosaur thing. Wouldn't that be hilarious? A teacher has been banned from classroom in Wales after a tribunal heard she got drunk in class, started swearing at the pupils during a lesson that turned into a mini rave. Shout out to Alice Ashton, can't even pronounce it properly, who taught at Ysgolbro Canonion. I bet I haven't pronounced that properly. It's somewhere in Wales, in Welshpool. She was swigged alcohol from an Evian bottle in class on January the 17th last year. The lesson spiraled out of control and turned into a mini rave with loud music, shouting and dancing. A fitness to practice tribunal was told. One 16-year-old told the hearing Ashton also swore, calling the class little poo-poo heads. The Education Workforce Council heard the lesson took place just 4 months after Ashton had convicted of drink driving. She's got a drinking problem, I think. She was described as smiley and happy. I wonder why. Before she started to become agitated. Giving evidence in person, a 16-year-old schoolgirl said Ashton drank orange liquid which smelled of alcohol while playing music from her laptop. The student, referred to as Pupil H, said fellow classmate discussed afterwards how odd the teacher's behaviour had been. She said Ashton taught her boring PSE numerous times before and were usually about alcohol and drug awareness. But not on that day. The pupil said she'd been sitting in the front row of the class and could smell alcohol from the Evian water bottle filled with orange liquid. She was probably drinking vodka. She told the hearing the bottle was full at the start of the lesson and almost empty by the end. Pupil H, who's a grass, said she was very close to us. There was a slight alcoholic smell. She was very, very lively and quite animated and speaking with her hands. In other lessons, she was more reserved and quiet. Alice had an Evian bottle with orange juice. I noticed she was regularly taking swigs from the bottle. I recall Alice asked the class to make the Macarena. She played the music and we were not doing any work. The teenager said Ashton kept jumping up from her desk but became irritated as the lesson went on. The hearing was told one schoolboy was walking around the classroom annoying people when Ashton told him to leave but not to snitch. Pupil H said she began to swear at him. She pulled her middle finger 2 to 3 inches from his face and continued to swear at him. Another student said she got us to dance the Macarena and she did not care about the lesson anymore. She got some students dancing to the laptop and speakers and it spiraled out of control. Ashton did not attend the hearing or respond to the allegations. The panel was told she had previously emailed EWC to say she was no longer working as a teacher and had moved to England. Presenting officer Lewis Harrison said Ashton had told an internal school inquiry that she did not swear or sing to the class. But Mr. Harrison said CCTV footage showed of the lesson was totally at odds with her denials. He said it's totally untenable to suggest the music is being played as the background music. The evidence is very clear that Miss Ashton did not remain at the front of the class. She invited pupils to dance. It was found proven that she appeared under the influence or smelt of alcohol whilst at work. She was struck off the teaching register indefinitely but may reapply in 2 years. That's a proper weird news story, isn't it? That's the kind of stuff I love. Oh, God. Imagine having a teacher like that. I would love it, I would. Finally recorded it without any interruptions near to the end. Thanks for listening. See you guys soon. And, yeah, have a great week.